2 hours, 120 minutes. It's a written paper, as you're aware, although you type it now when you go into the test centres. So we type quite happily. All questions need to be completed, obviously. 15 questions per exam. So they're written questions, 15, covering the whole syllabus. Nothing has any favouritism at all. They cover the whole syllabus, every single exam, all spread equally. Short answers for the questions, and we will talk about that as we go along. We'll give you some specimens to have a go at. 130 marks, as you can see, in total. The maths allows you to do a pass mark of about 55%, there or thereabouts. Around 71 marks needed to pass. Here's the pass rates as well. I don't know how you feel about these pass rates. You can see the percentages here, can't you? 2017, 2018, into the pandemic in 2020, it rocketed upwards because hardly anybody took the exam, and those that did tended to be in compliance. But now it's rested back down to, that's the pass rate, that's how many people pass it. It's quite low. It's nothing against you as people, it's just that the exam is difficult to actually take and pass. The topic's not complicated, but the way the examiners ask questions is, and a lot of people completely miss it because they answer them not correctly, and that's the biggest issue that people have. So let's talk more about the exam if you're happy with that. Give you some tips and techniques and things, and we'll chat about it, get ourselves comfortable with that. I'll keep on a few slides now with this section. We've talked about the syllabus. Here's the syllabus. But you've got this. The book itself doesn't relate to the syllabus. It roughly does, but it's the syllabus that's tested. Make sure you've got the latest one, and we have shown you the latest exam, of course, which you need to be looking at in detail. Let's get into the tips and techniques then. Here's a couple of tips and techniques and things for you, hints and tips, just to get you comfortable. First of all, when you approach the exam, you need to be part of a retail team. That's how the exam's written. You are, although you don't have as many branches as you used to have. You still have a retail environment around you, and that's quite useful to help to understand how the examiner works. Now, within the retail team itself, you are an all-singing, all-dancing manager. In other words, as a sales manager or supervisor, whatever your title is, you do everything in the exam. You recruit, you train people, you motivate people, you provide them with T&C and guidance, and ultimately you fire them as well. You do everything. You don't have HR departments to do stuff for you. That's the best way to approach the exam. Important that. When it comes to studying, know all your lists, steps and sequences. The whole book is full of lists. If you've had a good look at the book, it's full of lists, sequences, little step-by-step approaches. And if you were to make copies of all the lists and put them on card, you would be very well suited to answer most questions. Most questions ask you to list stuff, you see. List the 10 of these, or the 5 of those, or the 3 of those. It's chocker full of lists and sequences, so make sure you remember those and learn those. Don't rely on experience, guys. Now, looking around the room here, there's quite a few grizzled faces, aren't there? That's rude, isn't it? You've been around the block, haven't you, some of you? I'm only being rude. I'm looking at your faces now. But on a serious note, you've done the job, some of you, for probably quite a while, or you've experienced the job. But relying on experience isn't actually going to help you much with this exam. You do need to apply it, but don't think that you can scan through a text, for example, or a chapter, because you know it, because you've been doing it for years. Because there's a lot of theory inside those chapters that you need to know and remember. So that's just small on that one. Apply the theory to the job. Make sure that you're able to take a bit of theory and put it against the job itself. That's really, really key. Don't just regurgitate theory. That doesn't get you anywhere. You've got to be able to apply it to a given situation and understand how you can make it work using the theory from the paper itself. These are pretty straightforward, aren't they, really? When it comes to the exam, use plenty of space. Obviously, it's electronic now using a word processor. Make sure you have plenty of space when you do the exam so that You can add stuff later. You can do the exam in any order you want, and you'll probably want to go back and add things as you go along. Things get reminded, so make sure that you've got that space to be able to do that. That's really important. That YouTube is a big one. There's an awful lot of stuff here that is generic. For example, one of the new leadership models that came in last month was emotional intelligence, which you've all come across before. EQ, it's called. Daniel Goleman is the model they use. Now, if you went onto YouTube and Googled Goleman, you'd get thousands of videos. So if you're getting bored with the text, just jump onto YouTube and start putting in there Maslow or Covey or whatever it is, or Honey and Mumford. I mean, these are so generic. They're not financial services. And you'll find some reasonably good videos on the topic. You found some trash as well, which you'll find, but that's just the way it is. So make sure you mix and match when you're doing your studies. Makes life a lot easier. When you're doing the exam, don't think paragraphs. You want bullets. Bullets are good. That's a dodgy photograph, that, isn't it? But bullets are good here. People who fail will write lots of paragraphs of information for their answers. And you just don't want to do that. You want to start writing lists or bullets for every single answer in the exam. And that's really important, that one. A couple more tips for you. Don't forget Pareto's law. 20% of your effort will give you 80% of the results. 80-20 rule. It's been doing the rounds for years. When you approach the question, you're given like 10 minutes or 12 minutes to do the question. When you approach it, the first 2 or 3 minutes of your answer will give you 80% of the marks. Then after that, you just scrape the barrel. You start scratching for extra stuff. You just want to stop there because you're just wasting your time. So the 80-20 rule works very well with this exam as well. Last idea for you, descriptors. Make sure you know what the descriptors are for the exam. Make sure you know what they're asking for in the paper. And we've got loads of specimen papers here, and we'll go through a few of those today to help you get to grips with the wording that they use. So there's a few tips, just a couple of ideas to help you along the way. Just a quick one now, just to finish off. We'll go to questions. Why do people fail? Bit of a dismal subject, this one. First of all, people fail because they don't know their knowledge, obviously. They also fail because they rely on experience and they don't read the book. They also fail because they ignore the wording on the exam, on the question paper. They also fail because they waffle. We do waffle. We get nervous, don't we? So we waffle, and that's a real downer. And finally, you're using your in-house jargon, which the examiner's got no idea what you're talking about when it comes to training competence and that sort of thing. So there's some tips and techniques, really. I'm just going to finish on that one, change the angle, head back over here, and see if you've got any questions about the exam itself.